We always look forward to the opportunity to spend some time with Ed Klein, New York Times best-selling author, numerous books, Blood Feud, The Amateur, Truth About Hillary, former foreign editor of Newsweek, former editor-in-chief of the New York Times Magazine, contributing editor to Vanity Fair. Ed has a way of finding out things that other people simply cannot. He's got a new book out called Unlikable, The Problem with Hillary. Ed, good morning to you.
Good morning. Great to be with you.
Great to have you on the show. Thanks for taking time to be on with us. Tell me, I'm so intrigued and curious about Hillary's likability lessons from Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, Bill Clinton and Hillary were having lunch or dinner, I don't know which, with a bunch of friends, and Bill turned to Hillary and said, we should get Steve to help you out. Maybe we can get a couple of acting coaches to, make you more relatable when you give speeches and when you appear on TV and when you're in debates. Hillary was not very happy to hear that, especially in front of other people, and she said, I get $250,000 to $300,000 to give a speech, and I'm going to take lessons from those schmucks in Hollywood. And eventually she agreed to do it and set up a camera in her den in Chappaqua, which is a suburb of New York. She sent the videos from her practice sessions to Steven Spielberg's office. He, in turn, sent them to the acting coaches, who sent back critiques of Hillary. Now, Hillary, among other things, does not like to be criticized, especially consistently criticized about anything. And she just got teed off and decided to trash the camera, which she threw to the floor, and told her friends, that's the end of my Stanislavski method acting period.
Ed, we watched the Clinton campaign in 2007 and 2008 fail, losing to the president. She has had 8 years to get better, to be a better candidate, to be more personable, to be more likable. Why has she been totally unable to do so?
Well, ever since she entered public life, there have been people who've been trying to rehabilitate her and to give her a makeover. When Bill Clinton was running for president, his campaign chief did a secret memo, which, by the way, I publish in this new book, Unlikable, in which he talks about her unlikability back then in 1992, and what could they do about it. When they got into the White House, her communications director tried to put her on TV shows to make her more likable. And, here we now fast forward to 2015. This Saturday night, Hillary is going to be on Saturday Night Live to be more likable. And guess who the host of the program is going to be? Miley Cyrus. I wonder if she's going to introduce Hillary when she's naked.
Well, one can only hope for the sake of ratings and all that. It is amazing to me how she's been considered a top-tier candidate for the longest time, with really a stunning lack of accomplishments. And the unlikability that you talk about there, every speech that I've ever seen her give, and trying to be as open-minded as possible, sounds like it's being read, and she gives the mannerisms and the vibe that, man, I would rather be anywhere than here.
That's right. Well, it's interesting. Here she is, a woman who's been in politics for, 30, 40 years, and married to the greatest political figure of our time, Bill Clinton. Whether you like his politics or not, he's certainly a great politician, and she seems to have learned nothing. And you're right about the accomplishments, the lack of accomplishments. Her reset with Russia ended up with Vladimir Putin taking over Crimea and now taking over America's role in the Middle East and humiliating us. Her effort in Benghazi to cover up what really happened there is shameful, and she's going to go before the Trey Gowdy committee this month and have to explain herself again. You go on and on. Asia, the pivot to Asia didn't work. The Middle East is a shambles. This is a woman whose Secretary of Stateship was a complete failure.
Ed Klein is with us. The new book, Unlikable, The Problem with Hillary, available everywhere now. It's Riley and Scott on WROK. Unlikable is a problem. Does the fact that she is, in voters' eyes, more and more untrustworthy, just a flat-out liar on some issues, does that threaten to become an even bigger problem than being unlikable?
Well, I think it all is of one piece, that, being untrustworthy, being seen as a liar, being unlikable is all the same thing. And here she's going to go up this month on, I think it's the 13th of October. There's going to be a Democratic primary debate. And you're going to have Bernie Sanders on the same stage as Hillary Clinton. Now, I happen not to agree with anything that Bernie Sanders says, but I believe that he means and believes what he says.
Right.
And I think he's very authentic. I mean, he is real socialist. He wants to move the country to socialism. He doesn't make any bones about it. And when he talks, he's being honest. When she opens her mouth, you have just the opposite feeling. You cringe and think, my goodness, she doesn't really mean what she's saying. And I think you're going to see that in the debate, and I think he's going to run all over her.
Is this part of some sort of deal that she and Bill Clinton had at one time? I'll ride along and support you through all of these sorts of things, all these peccadillos that you're going to demonstrate, rub my nose in it. I'll stand fast through all of that. You support me as I try to get to the highest heights, even though I'm really not a good candidate.
Yes. Dick Morris, who worked for Bill Clinton in the White House, has reported more than one time that there was, in fact, not only an understanding between Bill and Hillary, but a verbal agreement that he would serve 8 years and then she would run for president and serve 8 years. Well, it didn't work out that way, did it? She ran in 2008, and Barack Obama ate her lunch. I think if I had to predict, and this is not journalism now, this is looking in a crystal ball, but if I had to predict what's going to happen to Hillary, I think it's very likely she's going to face an indictment by the Justice Department after the FBI finishes investigating her email scandal, and I don't think she's going to ever make it to the White House.
Ed Klein is with us. The book Unlikable, The Problem with Hillary, available everywhere now. It's Riley and Scott on WROK. Amazing access to people around the Clintons and the Obamas Ed Klein has. So, Ed, tell us, is the White House, are the Obamas pushing Joe Biden to get into the race? And based on who you've talked to and what you've heard, do you think the vice president will enter the race?
My sources in the Biden camp are split on that. They generally think he is going to get into the race, but he has really not finally made up his mind. Although today Joe Biden is giving a major speech before a gay and lesbian group, the most important gay and lesbian group in America. And the gays and lesbians have a lot of rich donors among them, and he's been talking to union groups, he's been talking to African American groups. You don't do that, suddenly become that active, and get onto Air Force 2, which is the vice president's plane, unless the president of the United States gives you the green light and says, go do it, Joe. So yes, Barack Obama, Valerie Jarrett, his senior advisor and best friend, Michelle Obama, who's very much part of all this, they are all urging Joe Biden to throw in his hat into the ring.
Book you want to grab is called Unlikable, The Problem with Hillary. Edward Klein is the author. You also, make mention that Hillary's health is something that we ought to consider as well.
That's true. And this is also a major chapter in the book Unlikable, in which I reveal, I think for the first time, that Bill Clinton has urged Hillary to travel with a personal physician because he's very concerned that, given her propensity or tendency to form blood clots, that she could have another blood clot, a fainting spell in front of a whole group of people, and ruin her chances of ever running for president because everybody will see her fainting. She has, I'm told by friends of hers, dizzy spells, terrible headaches, blinding headaches. Her hands tremble at times. She needs to take time off because her energy level is not up to the grueling requirements of a campaign. This is a woman who's not in great health, and I think, given the fact that she's going to be 69 years old when we elect the next president, I think she should bring forth and make public all her medical records before we vote for the next president.
Ed Klein with us, the book Unlikable. It's Riley and Scott. The Clinton Foundation, the scandals with the Clinton Foundation have faded to the background a bit, Ed, because of the email scandals. But as far as you can tell, how big of a mess is the Clinton Foundation? Is there more to still come out on that?
Big mess, huge mess. And you're right, it has been overshadowed by the email scandal. I have a chapter in Unlikable in which I interview 3 separate sources, each of whom had access to Hillary Clinton's offices in the State Department. One of whom was a young intern, another was a State Department official, another was a diplomat. Each one of these people saw on her desk or on a table in her conference room or in folders when she was traveling on her State Department airplane, material clearly marked Clinton Global Initiative and clearly marked Clinton Foundation. One of these sources actually heard her talking to a foreign donor about donations to the Clinton Foundation. This is when she was making decisions affecting governments and businesses, foreign businesses, doing business with America while they were giving money to the Clinton Foundation and paying Bill Clinton up to $500,000 for just one speech. Very serious conflict of interest.
Ed, do you think she ever wonders late at night why the Teflon that is so richly coating Bill Clinton's body does not seem to touch her at all?
Well, she talks about this to friends whom I've interviewed. They say she believes it's all a conspiracy against her. She believes that, she's done nothing terribly wrong. She believes that she's the target of conservative groups. She doesn't really get it. She's in a state of denial about what she's done. And Bill Clinton, being the good politician he is, he's much more realistic and pragmatic. This woman has got almost kind of a personality disorder when it comes to understanding that she has done things that are unethical and probably, I would say, illegal, and that she's in very serious legal trouble. One of her longest and oldest and most trusted legal advisors is urging her to lawyer up, and she has refused to do it.
See, you want to grab this book, you want to buy a couple of copies and pass them out to friends as well. Unlikable, The Problem with Hillary, book by Edward Klein. Ed, as always, we appreciate you taking time out of your day. Always a fascinating interview and continued success.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.